Okay, we were talking about Jonathan Hall, your new DP. What can you say about this new director of photography? Visually, it has a similar look to the 80s movies? Or
well, the 80s movies I made were a little more expensive and took a little more time. Jonathan works very quickly, which is good. He and I were going to do another project called Air Disturbance, which got canceled. And when this came up, and it was going to be shot in Los Angeles, which is very rare, believe me, I already knew him, and we had already talked about looks and how I like to work and all that kind of stuff, and so he signed on, and I was very happy with him. He's a good guy.
So it is a cheap movie, a low budget movie.
Well, if Burying the X was made in the 80s, it would have cost more, probably, because it wouldn't have been digital. You save quite a bit of money on digital. Because this was a low-budget movie and we didn't have much time to shoot it, the way we got around our costs was we shot the whole picture within a 7-block radius in LA, in downtown Los Angeles, so that we didn't have to have trucks and move things. We just pushed things in the old-fashioned way. And luckily the actors were quick and smart, and we got a lot of footage, and we had 2 cameras, and it worked fine. It's interesting, since I've done television where everything is 2 cameras or more, it has become the norm in feature films now. And all of the movies I did up to Looney Tunes were all single camera movies. And when I look back on some of these movies and see how much coverage I got with only 1 camera, it really amazes me. I mean, in the old days, you really only had to have 2 cameras if there was a stunt, or some building was going to fall down, or something that you couldn't repeat. And so you just didn't usually. Even on Roger Corman movies, you'd sometimes have 3 cameras for a stunt, but never for just shooting the movie normally, because DPs would complain that, you know, you can't be over here, or the light's got to be, it's all gonna. And now that's kind of gone away, and now movies are routinely shot with 2 cameras. And I've become adept at it because I've been doing so much television.
Okay. I just still like the master shots, or
sometimes not. You don't have the luxury of doing lots and lots of coverage. And the thing that's helped me in my Roger Corman training is that I know what you can get away with. I know how little you can shoot and know that it'll cut together. And so we didn't do very many things that we didn't even do whole masters. We'd do the piece of the master that we were going to use, and then we'd go in for the close-ups. Sometimes you shoot the close-ups first and the master last. It varies. It just depends on the location.
At least you don't have to move to Canada, like in the hole and freezing in the hole.
No, well, we didn't move to Canada. We shot in Canada, and then because it was so damn cold there, we had to come back to LA and shoot the summer-looking scenes, the outdoor scenes, because the producers kept insisting, the snow will melt. And I said, what are we going to do about their breath? It's a 3D movie. It's going to cost you twice as much to remove this breath in 3D that it is in 2D. Why don't you just wait and we'll shoot in LA? And that's what we did.
Music has always been very important to your movies, and this time you work with Joseph De Luca.
Mm-hmm.
What can you say about him? Did you work close to him doing the...
Yes, well, Joe. Well, I first tried to get Javier Navarrete, who did my last picture, but he wasn't available. And Joe had worked with Sam Raimi a lot, and I knew Joe's work. And he just happened to be relocating to LA from wherever it was that he used to live, and he really wanted to get a project going, and so he was very happy to do this because it's not Army of Darkness, but it has a certain similarity to that kind of humor, and he does great stuff for, you know, combining humor and horror, and he did all the orchestrations himself because we've now reached a technological level where he can do that, and he did the score's fine, you know.
Because I've heard something about something of the music, and it seemed like a real orchestra.
It does seem like a real orchestra,
yeah.
And some of them are real instruments, but I think they're not done. They're done separately in separate tracks.
What about the cast? You have a lot of young actors. Was it difficult to find the actors for the parts?
What's amazing is how quickly the cast came together, because this was a show that became funded And it was sort of like funded on the basis that it had to be done by a certain date, which meant that everything had to be in overdrive. And I guess CAA is really responsible for a lot of this, but I ended up with the 4 best people in town that could have played these parts. And I really can't remember a time when I was so happy with the work of the 4 principals. And there really aren't very many other characters. It's really just 4 people. And they are, each one of them, terrific.
So it was a fun shooting?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was all pretty fast. It was like, okay, we're done. Next shot.
Okay. Have you seen the short film in which the...
No, when Alan Teresa showed me the script and told me that there was a short film version of it, I asked him not to show it to me because I just didn't want to have it in my head. And I still haven't seen it. I'm hoping to see it on the DVD, where I'm sure it'll be an extra.
Here we have 2 of your regulars, Archie Hahn and Dick Miller.
And we had Mary Warrenoff before I cut her out.
Oh yeah.
Yes, she played Scary Mary, the woman who owns the shop. But her scene came at the end of the movie, and it was at a point where we really needed to get to the next piece, and it just had to come out. I had to tell her it's awful to have to call an actor and tell them to cut out of a movie. If you see the Dick Miller documentary, there's a whole section about being cut out of movies.
Yeah. And the Jerry Lewis one, and which way to the front.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But there's no Robert Picardo this time. It wasn't available?
No, he was very available, but there just wasn't a part for him.
Well, last question. What it means for you to give the prize to the time machine to Dick Miller here in Sitges?
Well, as the recipient of a time machine myself, which sits on my piano with a stop-motion gremlin sitting in the seat, which is just perfect. I'm honored, and I couldn't be happier to be able to. Dick is a guy who's worked for a long time in this business and had his ups and downs, and never quite got the recognition, I don't think, that he really deserved. And I think that it's great that at this point in his life, he can, like happened to Ray Harryhausen, people who managed to stay in the business long enough for people to say, this guy was really good. We should tell people about him. That he's now in a position to receive that, and I'm humbled to be able to be the guy to give it to him.
Okay, thank you.